Hello YouTube, this is Thomas Judge back once again, and I have just watched Iron Man 2. What can I say about Iron Man 2? Pretty decent film. Let's start with the opening. Whiplash, the character played by Mickey Rourke, makes an arc reactor. This is the thing that the entirety of Stark Industries couldn't do, and that Tony Stark was amazing for doing in a cave out of a box of scraps. And then Whiplash's character just manages to make one. I don't know, kind of skeptical, but that's fair enough. Um, Reintroduction of Tony Stark. He's running around as Iron Man, enjoying himself. I totally forgot about this element in the story where he's got this blood toxicity sensor that he keeps on checking to see how the arc reacts and the palladium is poisoning him. Totally forgot about that. Haven't got a problem with it other than it just looks so cartoony. It literally says Stark Industries on it. It's about the size of a pager, if you remember what a pager was, and it literally flashes up a symbol that says blood toxicity ... and then the percentage. I get it's so that children watching the movie understand what it relates to, but it just seems so hokey and antiquated. So yeah, that was the start of the film. Pretty competent, it was all okay. Then you get to the press conference with the senators, which is the press conference with the famous scene where Tony says that he's privatized world peace. Implications of that never seem to be mentioned again, but are we saying that all wars have ended in all countries because they're all scared of Iron Man? But the press conference itself is amazing. Love the bit where he hijacks the screen and then shows what all the other nations are doing. That was the first peak and the first great moment of the movie. Then the movie sort of trundles on. Scarlett Johansson's entrance in the film is fantastic. I forgot she was in this movie. I forgot this is when she entered the franchise. And I also forgot she entered it pretending to be a legal secretary. So just works out really well, really good. Then you have the iconic scene in Monaco, which is the one from the trailer where Tony's in the race car and he gets attacked by Whiplash. I'm not going to pull threads on things like why was Whiplash in the pit crew? How do you know Tony was going to get in the car? What I will point out is just before Tony gets in the car, there's this great scene where he's in the mirror and he's looking at himself in the mirror and he's like, what's your next bad idea? And it reminded me very much of the opening of Warren Ellis's Extremis arc of comics, which has got a similar set of scenes where Tony's looking at himself in the mirror and just feeling a bit sort of death wishy. Anyway, so this leads to the first big confrontation, which is Whiplash versus Tony, and Tony's in the race car. Whiplash seems ridiculously overpowered for a guy who's not really wearing an Iron Man suit. I mean, he's got a lot of explosives, should be very vulnerable, but whatever, he appears to be massively OP. But then when Tony does get the Iron Man suit, after an original sort of battle that lasts for a minute or two and seems quite tense, how he actually takes him down seems really, really straightforward and a bit underwhelming. So there we are. On that point, the second battle, which is then between Rhodey in the War Machine armor, or the proto-War Machine armor, and Iron Man, whilst Iron Man's kind of drunk at his birthday, that fight was just rubbish. It was just weak. There was no tension. I wasn't interested in it. Speaking of which, around about the same time, Whiplash is broken out of prison, and there's this whole scene which you can tell they thought was going to be cool, where Whiplash is sitting down with Justin Hammer in this airport hangar, and it's all like people with wine and fancy foods and so on, and Justin Hammer's trying to come across as being really menacing and classy and Tony Stark like, and it just fails. Like, the scene just wasn't great. It had all the elements that should have been good, but it just didn't come together. Then the film kind of reaches a bit of a lull after that second peak, which is where Tony has to make some new element to replace the palladium in his arc reactor. So, got some cool stuff from Scarlett Jo, some cool stuff from Samuel Jackson. I'm going to, again, not pull threads on the fact that he builds a nuclear fusion generator in his basement in less than a day. But I will point out that it seems a bit jarring that Jarvis was saying, oh, this is an impossible thing to do. And then Tony does it about half an hour later. On that note, it is very cool that Jarvis is voiced by Paul Bettany, because he obviously comes into it as Vision later on in the series, so it's fantastic to see that consistency throughout. Then the movie carries on, it's okay, you get to the final battle scene, which was just drones flying around chasing Tony. It was disappointing, it was weak, it was predictable. The final bit where he just uses his laser to kill all the drones in one go was just a massive letdown. But the parallel thread, which is Scarlett Jo breaking into Hammer Industries, was brilliant. I could have happily seen much more of that kung fu badassery. And I genuinely thought that was the entire final battle, because that's all I remember from having seen it about 10 years ago. I totally forgot Whiplash then turns up in this massive Iron Man suit he's made, and there's then a fight with him, and I was like, oh man, I completely forgot about this. Oh, this should be awesome. I bet this is a great fight. No, it's not a great fight scene. No. It ends really, really quickly and really disappointingly. So it's kind of like I can see now why I didn't remember it. But having realised why I didn't remember it, I don't know why I remember the bit before it with the drones, because that was also rubbish. So yeah, kind of underwhelming as an end of the movie as well. So overall, what can I say? Well, unlike the previous movies that I watched, the antagonists in this were weak. It felt like Whiplash and Justin Hammer just weren't good enough. Whiplash was a much stronger character than Justin Hammer. Justin Hammer being like a comedy character, but ultimately it kind of felt like, why are you diluting the villains? Why are you having two villains here? It is a poor example of sequelitis. And I'm not really keen on seeing either of them again. And obviously, we don't. The film basically, it was okay. It was pretty mediocre. It's clearly a lot of filler. It clearly felt like a film that had kind of been rushed together after the surprising success of Iron Man 2 years before. Um, and clearly, much more than Iron Man and much more than Incredible Hulk, this is a movie that was a setup for a franchise in a shared universe. You've got several mentions of the Avengers within the actual movie, not just in the post-credits. And then obviously the post-credits is all about Thor and setting up the next movie, which actually I'll be watching tomorrow, which is Thor. So this is very much a film that has some good points in it and some great scenes, but a lot of it is just filler and stuff that kind of was put together and just doesn't all click. It's competent, but it's not great. Some bits are barely even good. It's really just something where you can see the first movie was a surprise, a success. They decided, right, we need to make this into a cinematic universe. No one's ever done that before. How can we do it? And this movie really is connective tissue into that step, rather than a great standalone movie by itself. So, a bit disappointing, but overall, as part of the overarching narrative of 22 movies, totally see where this fits in. Had no problem watching it, and tomorrow I'll be watching Thor. Well, thanks, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about this series. Let me know if you're watching along at home. Let you know how you're doing during the lockdown and if this is keeping you entertained in the slightest. And as always, please support the channel. Head over to Amazon, pick up the free first instalment of my episodic novel, No Gods or Kings. And until tomorrow, when I'll be watching Thor, stay classy.